Book of Heaven, Volume 13. 23rd to the 29th of October 1921. Page 35 to 40. October 23, 1921. Every sanctity begins from the most holy humanity of Jesus, from the sea of his passion. But from it, Jesus makes Luisa pass into the sea of the divine will. The truths about the divine will are channels that open from the sea of the divine will for the good of all creatures. I was feeling all immersed in the divine volition, and my lovable Jesus, on coming, told me, "Daughter of my will, look into your interior, how peacefully flows the immense sea of my will. But do not think that this sea has been flowing in you for a short time, just because you hear me speak often about my will, but for a long, long time, since my usual way is to act first, and then to speak. It is true that your beginning was the sea of my passion, because there is no sanctity which does not pass through the harbor of my humanity. In fact, there are saints who remain in the harbor of my humanity, while others move beyond. But then I quickly grafted the sea of my will, and when I saw you disposed, and you surrendered your will to me, my will took life in you, and the sea kept flowing and growing continuously. Each additional act of yours in my will was a greater growth. I spoke to you little about this, our wills were linked together and understood each other without speaking. And then, by just seeing each other, we understood each other. I delighted in you, feeling the delights of heaven, in nothing dissimilar to those which the saints give me. While I am their happiness, they make me happy. Being immersed in my volition, they cannot do without giving me joys and delights. But my happiness was not complete. I wanted more children of mine to share in such a great good. Therefore I began to speak to you about my will in a surprising way, and the more truths, effects and values I spoke to you about, the more channels I opened from the sea for the good of others, so that these channels might give abundant water to all the earth. My working is communicative and always in act, without ever stopping. However, many times these channels are covered with mud by creatures. Others throw stones into them, and the water does not flow freely, but with difficulty. It is not that the sea does not want to give water, or that the water cannot penetrate everywhere because it is not clear. Rather, it is the creatures that oppose such a great good. Therefore, if they will read these truths not being disposed, they will not understand a thing. They will remain confused and dazzled by the light of my truths. For those who are disposed, they will be light which will light them up, and water which will quench their thirst, in such a way that they will never want to detach themselves from these channels, because of the great good they feel, and the new life which flows in them. Therefore, you too should be happy to open these channels for the good of your brothers, neglecting nothing about my truths, not even the tiniest thing, because as tiny as it may be, it can serve one of your brothers in order to draw water. So, be attentive in opening these channels, and in contenting your Jesus, who has done so much for you. October 27, 1921. The divine will must be like the soul to the body. I was saying to my always lovable Jesus, it has been a long time since you placed me inside of you. I would feel safer, and I could share more in your divinity, as if the earth did not belong to me, and heaven were my dwelling. How many tears did I not have to shed, when your volition would put me out? The mere sensing the air of the earth was an unbearable weight for me. But your will would win, and I, bowing my forehead, would resign myself. Now I feel that you are always inside of me, and when I become delirious for seeing you, by just moving in my interior, or but putting out an arm, you calm me and give me life. Tell me, what is the reason? And Jesus, my daughter, it is fair after I carried you in my interior for my whole life, that your duty be to carry me in your interior for all of your life. If I placed you in my interior, it was in order to perfume your soul, and to extend a new heaven within you, so as to render it a worthy residence for my person. It is true that you felt safer and that joys poured down upon you, but the earth is not a place of delights, its inheritance is pain, and the cross is the bread of the strong. More so, since I had to establish the center of my will in you, and therefore it was necessary that my will lived in you and served you as the soul to the body. My will could never descend into a soul in a singular way and outside of the ordinary, if she did not have her distinct prerogatives. The same with my Mama. I, Eternal Word, could not have descended in her, if she did not have her distinct prerogatives and the divine breath had not breathed into her, as into a new creation, to the point of rendering her admirable to all, and superior to all created things. The same with you. First my humanity wanted to have its stable dwelling in you in order to prepare you, and now it is giving you the life of my will, like the soul to the body. You must know that my will must be like the soul to the body. See, this happens also within us, the three divine persons. Our love is great, infinite and eternal, but if we did not have a will that animates and gives life to this love, our love would be without life, without works. Our wisdom seems incredible, our power can crush everything in 1 minute, and in another minute it can redo everything. But if we did not have a will that wanted to manifest the mastery of our wisdom, as it manifested it in the creation, in which it ordered and harmonized everything, and with its power it made it fixed in such way that it cannot move one bit, both wisdom and power would have had nothing to do, and so with all the rest of our attributes. Now, in the same way I want my will to be like the soul to the body. The body without the soul is lifeless. Even though it contains all the senses, it cannot see, nor speak, hear, work. It is almost a useless thing, and maybe even unbearable. But if the body is animated, how many things can it not do? Yet, oh! How many render themselves useless and unbearable because they are not animated by my will. They are like those electric systems without light, like those machines without motion, covered with rust and dust, and almost impotent to motion. Ah, how pitiful they are! Each thing which is not animated by my will is a life of sanctity that is missing. This is why I want to be in you like the soul to the body, and my will make new surprises of creations, it will give new life to my love, it will do new works, it will manifest the mastery of my wisdom, it will give new motion to my power. Therefore, be attentive and let me do, so that I may accomplish my great design, that the creature be animated by my will. October 29, 1921. Meaning and effects of the 3 hours of imprisonment of Jesus. I spent last night in vigil. My mind would often fly to my Jesus, who was bound in prison. I wanted to cling to those knees which staggered for the painful and cruel position in which the enemies had tied him. I wanted to clean him of the spit with which he was smeared. But while I was thinking of this, my sweet Jesus, my life, made himself seen as though within thick darkness, through which I could barely see his adorable person, and sighing, he told me, "Daughter, the enemies left me alone in prison, horribly bound and in the dark." Everything around me was thick darkness. Oh, how this darkness afflicted me! My clothes were wet from the filthy waters of the stream. I could smell the stench of the prison and of the spit with which I was smeared. My hair was disheveled, without a pitying hand which would remove it from my eyes and from my mouth. My hands were bound by chains, and the darkness did not allow me to see my state, alas, too painful and humiliating. Oh, how many things did my state, so painful, tell in this prison! I remained in prison for 3 hours. With this I wanted to rehabilitate the 3 ages of the world, that of the law of nature, that of written law, and that of the law of grace. I wanted to release all, reuniting them all together, and give them freedom as children of mine. By being there 3 hours I wanted to rehabilitate the 3 ages of man: childhood, youth and old age. I wanted to rehabilitate him when he sins out of passion, out of his will, and out of obstinacy. Oh, how the obscurity I saw around me made me feel the thick darkness which sin produces in man. Oh, how I cried over him, saying, "Oh, man, your sins have thrown me into this thick darkness, and I suffer it to give you light. Your evils have smeared me like this, and their darkness is such that I cannot even see them. Look at me, I am the image of your sins. If you want to know them, look at them in me." However, know that on the last hour I spent in prison the dawn broke. and a few glimmers of light entered through the fissures. Oh, how my heart breathed in being able to see my painful state! This signified man when, tired from the night of sin, receives grace, which surrounds him like dawn, sending him glimmers of light in order to call him back. So, my heart heaved a sigh of relief. And in this dawn I saw you, my beloved prisoner, whom my love was going to bind in this state, and you would not leave me alone in the darkness of the prison. Waiting for the dawn at my feet, and following my sighs, you would cry with me over the night of man. This relieved me, and I offered my imprisonment to give you the grace to follow me. But this prison and this darkness contained another meaning. This was my long staying in the prison of the tabernacles, the loneliness in which I am left, such that many times I have no one to whom to say a word, and send a gaze of love. Other times, I feel in the holy host the impressions of unworthy touches, the stench of rotten and muddy hands, and there is no one who touches me with pure hands and perfumes me with his love. And how many times human ingratitude leaves me in darkness, without even the miserable light of a lamp. Therefore, my imprisonment continues, and will still continue. And since both of us are prisoners, you, prisoner in bed, only for love of me, I, prisoner for you, with my love, I want to bind all creatures, with the chains that keep me bound. In this way, we will keep each other company, and you will help me to extend the chains in order to bind all hearts to my love. After this, I thought to myself, how few are the things that are known about Jesus, while he has done so much. Why did they speak so little about all that my Jesus did and suffered? And Jesus, coming back, added, my daughter, everyone is stingy with me, even the good. How much stinginess they have toward me, how many restrictions. How many things they do not manifest, of that which I tell them and which they comprehend about me. And you, how many times are you not stingy with me? Each time you either do not write what I tell you, or do not manifest it, is an act of stinginess toward me, because each additional knowledge that one acquires about me is one more glory, one more love that I receive from creatures. Therefore, be attentive and more generous with me, and I will be more generous with you.